President Bola Tinubu arrives at the Council Chamber of the State House to chair the last meeting of the Federal Executive Council for 2024. It has a full attendance of members of the President's cabinet. The meeting ends within a few hours after commencement, and some ministers briefed journalists on major resolutions reached, including the 2025 appropriation bill.
The Federal Executive Council approved the budget proposals for 2025 with amendments which Mr. President directed. The expenditure is projected at 47,960 billion, which is an increase of 36.8% from the 2024 estimate.
President Tinubu was billed to present the 2025 budget to the National Assembly on Tuesday. But how feasible is that?
That engagement is ongoing, and there is the possibility, if the National Assembly concurs, that we shift the budget presentation from tomorrow to the day after.
A second question that arises is how possible it is to achieve the one-year budget cycle, considering that only few days are left for the lawmakers to consider the bill before the end of 2024.
We can't prejudge the National Assembly, but we believe that the National Assembly will expeditiously consider, given the track record, given the confidence, given their sense of appreciation of the relationship with the executive, particularly with Mr. President. However, I need to say here that our constitution have always anticipated that even if a budget is not passed by the 31st of December, the executive can continue to incur expenditure.
Apart from the 2025 budget, FEC also approved the commencement of the Phase 1 of the Presidential Power Initiative, also known as the Siemens Project, which involves rehabilitation of 14 brownfield existing substations and the establishment of 23 new greenfield stations across the country.
The cost of this first batch of the Phase 1 of the Siemens Project that was approved this afternoon is 161,328,228 euro.
Meanwhile, FEC has passed a vote of confidence on President Bola Tinubu for his leadership so far. The Federal Executive Council also approved the motion moved by President Bola Tinubu to rename the University of Abuja to Yakubu Gowon University in recognition of the contribution of the former military head of state to the growth of Nigeria. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Well, that was the outcome of the last Federal Executive Council meeting for the year. We've done a summary for you, presented by our correspondent, Emperor Simon there. And we've seen just what it is. The President is expected to present the budget tomorrow of 47.9 trillion naira. That's almost 48 trillion naira. And in the middle of this, people will continue to ask, what exactly is the impact of the budget presented each year on the economy of Nigeria? Do Nigerians really feel the impact of the budget presented at the federal government level and also that presented by the different state governments? Well, joining us this morning to discuss some of these issues, we have Mr. Jeff Ojinika, who is the National Chairman, Coalition for Change. You're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you.
And we also have Honorable Bernard Miko, who is an APC chieftain and also a former member of the House of Representatives. Honorable, you're welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning, Nigerians.
Yeah, first and foremost, let me take your perspective. As somebody who used to be a member of the House of Reps, it's not every day that we get the president saying that he's going to present a budget on a certain day, and then it is moved by another day again. And then first, we're also seeing a shift in the timing for the presentation of budgets. Usually we'll see it about October, November, so that the National Assembly can work on it, especially since we've now reverted to the to a cycle of starting our fiscal year on the 1st of January. It doesn't appear that it's going to be possible this time around, is it?
Well, I think the president has the prerogative of presenting the budget within the time frame specified by law. Like the Minister of National Planning, Bagudu, budget just said now, seeing it on the television. I think he's within the time to present it. If there are reasons why he couldn't do it earlier, I think he will be given the leverage to do it when he's after discussions with the leadership of the National Assembly. I don't see anything wrong with the timing. My worry is that since independence, we have never implemented our budget cycle up to 30%, either during civilian or military. And that puts a big question mark on the oversight functions of members of the National Assembly.
When you say 30%, I guess you mean that of the capital expenditure.
Capital, yes. The recurrent has always gone to 100% or even more, or even going to borrowing into deficit budgeting.
Okay, that's your concern. But let me quickly pose the same question to Mr. Ojinika in terms of the timing of the presentation, because before now we had seen how the National Assembly would, bend over double backwards to make sure that we're still maintaining that January to December. It might not be 1st of January, but at least we're still maintaining a January to December cycle. Are you a little concerned that, that all of that work that we seem to have at least been, that pattern which we seem to have established is now about to be changed somewhat?
Well, thank you. The situation is that, legally speaking, from the constitutional point of view, the president is still within the time frame for him to present his budget. But just as you have raised some concerns, the budget undergoes a process. It doesn't just end with his presentation. It has to go through his presentation is the first reading. It has to go through second reading, and then the third reading, and the ministries and departments will come and defend their budget before the National Assembly. Finally, before the final computations are done, and then the budget is passed and for his assent. Judging by the time frame we have now, one will be afraid that very soon the National Assembly will be going on for the Christmas break. So within this time, it may be difficult to really pass it before the end of the year. And then you saw the Minister of Budget, they're coming up with a defense that at least the Constitution also gives them within the first 6 months for them to spend, and then later, until the budget, at such a time the budget is passed. So they've not really violated any provisions of our Constitution. But the situation, just like the concerns you raised, is that for the average Nigerian out there, what does this figure of 49 trillion mean to them? Or does this budget actually impact on their lives? Is this something, in those days, during the military era, people, businesses, everything will come to a stop until the budget is passed, because the budget affects the life of the people. Everybody, if you're in business or if you're in importation, you say you have to wait till let them announce the budget, because it's the time they announce the budget that you now know whether to import more or what you sell and all the rest of them. So the budget actually determines the way of life then. But now, budget of 49 trillion, we'll call it 24%, whether it is 30 trillion, whether it's 50 trillion, has nothing to do with the average man there. And the reason is just simple. Our budget is not performance-based. If you have a performance-based budget, what you announce is not ultimately the figure, because that figure is nothing. This 49 trillion, how many kilowatts of electricity is it going to put in the national grid? What improvement are we going to have in how many network of federal highways is it going to give us? How will it impact on our agriculture? How will it put more food on the table? How will it make the hospitals, you go to hospitals, it will improve the provision of facilities. And so this is basically what the average man out there, So our budget, if the Minister of Planning, the budget people, what Nigerians are interested is the performance aspect of this budget, not rolling out these figures. And you are not rolling out these figures that some of the government officials will find it difficult to announce. Like the last time, it was difficult for even the Senate president to announce our budget figures, because the figures are becoming so that when we went to school, people didn't learn how to, the number of figures that are trillion.
Yes, I was just going to ask you if you thought that the figure was ambitious. I mean, looking at just by how much we've raised it from 2024, do you think that this is an ambitious budget, or would you say that, and when you also look at the parameters, for instance, we're looking at, sadly, crude oil is still the major revenue earner for the country. We're looking at $75 per barrel. We want to be able to produce at least 2 million barrels per day to be able to make a substantial part of it. So for you, when you look at the parameters that make up this almost 48 trillion naira budget, would you say that we're being ambitious, or are we, taking things too easy?
I don't see it as any ambition. It's in the sense that it depends on the budget parameters. The budget parameters, they are calculating it based on the exchange rate.
Indeed.
The quantity of crude oil we are selling has not changed. It's the same. There's not so much improvement. It's only if they now multiply it by the current exchange rate.
Yeah, but like the quantity now is about 1.5 to 1.7 million barrels per day. If we're looking to produce 2 million barrels per day at the minimum, that's ambitious, isn't it?
It's not ambitious compared to what we can produce. In fact, as of now, before OPEC gives countries their quota, they know the capacity and what they can do. We're not even meeting up with our OPEC quota. We're not meeting up with our OPEC quota. The OPEC quota then is about 2 billion barrels or more, and all the rest of them. We're still below the quota we are given to produce. So, but basically, the major problem is that we are making, there is motion and no movement. If you calculate our budget in the last 10 years, it's basically the same, in the sense that this year they will now multiply the exchange rate, they will increase the exchange rate, and they multiply the same figure, it gets up high. It's just like maybe if you are paying school fees maybe some 7 years ago, when the dollar exchange rate was 196, you are paying $10,000. That time is 1.9. If you are paying the same thing today, when the exchange rate is 1.8, the figure will go up.
So you don't. The value has not really changed.
The value has not changed, and it has not improved, because if it has improved, if it has changed, it will impact on the essence of budget is that it will impact on the lives of the average person.
Are these your thoughts as well?
Well, I think the inflationary trend, not only in Nigeria, in the whole world, has affected our budgetary system. I remember when I went to school, to the university in England, my basic allowance for the year was 5,000 naira, and that converts to about 4,000 something pounds. So if you compare it today, you see a big difference, even the transportation, the petrol, and everything. I think the government has been battling with this inflation all over the world, government at different times and all that. Yes, people will continue to struggle and to complain that government is not doing well. If you look at when PDP was in power during the Jonathan administration, and they look at the conversation that time, they thought that he was a moron, he was a fool, he wasn't carrying the economy along, he wasn't carrying, ordinary people were complaining, and that's why they opted for change. And now, under Muhammad Buhari, he did his best, and Nigeria is a work in progress. They will continue to, people will adjust, and of course, politics, these are political conversations, and politics is mirror of the society. This money that has been spent, whether it has an impact or not, is being spent on the people.
Is it?
Yes, it's being spent on the people.
Some people will argue that it isn't. That's why maybe we're not really feeling the impact of this. That maybe a huge chunk of it is not really making its way into the real economy.
Which one is the real economy? Yes, there are problems of electricity, right from the time of Yakubu Gowon, where only 3,000 megawatts of electricity. When Buhari was campaigning, he said, where is the power? After $16 billion have been spent. And up till now, we have about 97% of 200 and something Nigerians on the national grid. And out of that figure, about 57% are metered. But there's no, just 14% are on renewable energy like solar. So why are these things happening like this? Are these politicians coming from other countries, or they are coming from Nigeria, or they are the same people since independence that we have been complaining? I think the societal values, we need to develop a national civic ethics that we regulate not only our politicians, our civil servants, and even the private sector, so that we can get things right. Yes, things are not working well in Nigeria as in other countries, but we don't blame it on a particular administration, that this administration is the cause of, they might not get their policies right. We have seen politicians, when they are in another setting.
Are you suggesting that they are not getting their policies right? Because you just said that they're spending they're spending the money on the people. And yet you also said in your first statement, your opening statement, that you are more concerned about budget performance, that our budget has not done beyond 30% performance in the capital expenditure area of things. And you're wondering if the National Assembly is really living up to its responsibilities. These are your concerns.
Yes, I'm talking about the priorities of the people. Politicians, they are more concerned. Politics is like woman. A woman is more concerned about her outlook than her internal character. So when a politician... You're talking
to women on this program.
Yeah, that's why I'm making the reference.
I'm very, will I say, concerned that you're describing us to us. I want to imagine that's your perception of women. That's not how women are.
Oh, how are they?
That's not the topic of discussion.
Yes, but what I'm trying to say is that politics is the mirror of the society. A politician, when he goes to campaign for support and for votes, once he wins the election, he will be guided by what the people tells him, what his people want. He was in the House. You look at the presiding officer during that tax session, where he supported the bill, and at some point withdrew. He didn't withdraw on his own. It's because of what his people. I have been in local government, many years back, and people will come to you. This is what they want.
Honorable Miko, I want us to be able to take a look at budgets under the APC administration, because you are an APC chieftain.
Yes.
Maybe we can get that slide so we can see what the budgets have been consecutively. You made a very interesting phrase there. You said it's a work in progress.
Yes.
Progress in what direction? Let's say since the Buhari administration, every budget after, what kind of progress have we seen on those budgets under the APC administration?
Well, if you are not in APC as an opposition member, you say otherwise. But what I'm saying is that the budgetary cycle have impacted gradually, gradually.
In what ways?
Well, if you look at, let's say, agriculture, the major problem in the country, why we are not getting to where we want to get to, is because of insecurity. And insecurity has been with us. Me and Jeff were just discussing it before this time. And the federal government is a virtual entity, that fuse in the states. So if the states, all the states are not APC states, most of the states are PDP and even Labour Party. If the state governors, can get their acts right, if the federal government or Nigerian people can remove at least half of items, the 68 items on exclusive legislative list, and devolve it to the states. A situation where you have 68 items on exclusive list and 30 on concurrent list. So the burden of government and governance is unwieldy on the federal that has no state.
You know, usually every year, there's always some title to the budget. What do you think the title for this year's budget should be?
It's for inspiration.
The budget of inspiration and hope.
Hope, yes, it's to give the purpose of government. Government don't actually drive the economics of any nation. It is the private sector. So they want to lay foundation, you know, for people to excel in entrepreneurship, creativity, and the value system.
Some people have suggested that with what the common man has had to deal with under the All Progressives Congress, under the government of your party, with all that the common man has had to deal with, that maybe this year's budget, well, 2025's budget, should have been called the budget of the common man. What do you think?
Well, I
just so the people can know that you're actually doing something for the common man, you're looking at the common man, because you can't deny how bad things have been under the APC administration.
The APC is a progressive government.
Yes, but you can't deny how poorly the quality of the life of the Nigerian has deteriorated under the APC administration.
Let me bring you back to the Jonathan administration. What people that was a PDP administration for which we were all part. You know, the narrative then was even worse. You know, you compare government.
Inflation wasn't at 34.6%.
Well, they say I'm talking of what you are doing that figures. You can use statistics for anything.
The price of chicken wasn't 10,000 naira. The price of food wasn't what it is right now.
These are comparative times. Look at the value of 10,000 naira now with 10,000, with 2,000 naira or 5,000 naira that time. You get the same value. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's just that we are not protecting our own. Our borders are porous. You know, we don't protect our industries. We consume more than we produce. And
well, you see, that's the essence of government, isn't it, Honorable Minister? You see, sometimes, and I want to be able to say this with all due respect, we look at the issues, and of course there's a global problem, but that's why you're government. Government is not me.
We are talking
government is not the people. You have unlimited resources. You have access to all kinds of technocrats. You're supposed to be thinking about how to make things better. It is quite disappointing, sir, that every time the issue comes up about look at how things are under your government. I always hear it from APC. Oh, it's the world. This is the problem with the world. But that is why you're in government, isn't it?
I'm telling you that the federal government, for which we are expecting the budget to be presented now, is a virtual entity devolved in states. So the actual performance indices should come from the states. And at all the states, APC states, no. Are they perfect? No. So I think we need to develop a national civic ethics so that our attitude, our consumption pattern can be patterned towards what we can produce. Once we do that, we get it right. And of course, all over the world now, migration is a major issue. Why people are running because of climate change from one country to the across borders. Our borders are so porous, particularly in the northern part of the country, where people come in and kill people and nothing is done.
Nothing is done by your government.
Not on the APC. Nothing is done by the state governments, even the local government.
I want to be able to get Mr. Jeff Ojinika's thoughts on that, because he's made a point, though, and many people will agree with that point, that governance is not just Tinubu's office in the villa. There are state governments, there are local governments, and things like that. The accountability for leadership at those levels, and many people have pointed out that it's been missing over the years. As we go into 2025, is he right, first of all, and what should these subnationals be thinking about?
Well, he can never be right. I sympathize with him. You know, this is a case of saying the doctor did his best, but the patient died. So under the situation we find ourselves, the kind of economy we find ourselves, is the type that people try to prefer one kind of solution or the other. While he was talking, he raised the one valid point. No country runs their economy alone. It depends, you know, today as we talk, so many big companies in the country are leaving the country. They are divesting, you know. The Eni group has left, the Shell group and all the rest of them, a lot of people, so many companies are leaving. Oh, it's a very dangerous sign. Instead of having an inflow, a lot of people coming from different parts. And the people don't understand. And basically, our people don't understand when people say that the basic fundamental is this issue of the bane of our problem is electoral reform. If we don't solve a situation where whoever, from the councillor to the local government chairman, to the member of the House, to the member of the House of Reps, to the senator and the president, that whoever goes into those positions is as determined by their own constituents, not by any other external influence. Not until that is done, no legitimate, except they are crooks, it's only crooks, companies that are very that are roguish, that can come to invest in our client. But if it is you see maybe a company grown up from generation to generation, they got their money. If it is like the Henneken Group today or the Guinness Group, it's family business that they have grown and it has passed from one generation to the other. Before they go to invest in any client, they'll be sure that that client is very stable. I'm sure the kind of way people are living Nigeria, they will not be living Ghana that way. So what I say...
Sorry, just a moment, because you just made a statement that it's only roguish companies. Are you saying that the companies that are here currently doing business are all roguish? That will be the implication of that. No, they have already found themselves here. The companies that are here have already found themselves here. Yes, but the companies, you just mentioned companies that are closing, that cannot stand the heat, or for other reasons are divested.
Okay, that understand.
So when you say that there's only companies that are roguish that can come and do business here.
Let me give you an instance. There was a company, a big company in Germany. I will not mention the companies for goodness sake. A big company in Germany that got a contract during the military government. It was one of the biggest construction firms in Germany. They got a contract to come and do roads, especially in Lagos there. Then they went and brought one of the smaller companies and handed them and subletted the bridge to do bridges, because that's the area of specialty. Went to their country and brought one of the, and then entered into an MOU. That company they brought later understood the Nigerian, that smaller company in Germany came here and understood our work climate better. At the end of the day, they turned into an octopus, a very bigger company. Whereas that company that was very strict, bigger in Germany, that brought them here, had left this country.
That is one example.
So no, I'm just telling you so that you understand it.
I understand what you're trying to say, Mr.
Okay, maybe I was too harsh in that language. But what I would say is that maybe they understood our work environment, that understand our work environment very well.
When you talk about our work environment, I imagine that you're talking about corruption. Isn't that correct?
Of course. We're very... It will not be wrong for anybody to say that the corruption index in the country is very high. Mm-hmm. Even from Transparency International and then other companies.
But in spite of it, some companies are still trying to maintain ethics and do their business. But
basically, I just wanted to see that we address our problem from the fundamentals. Like you listed this budget, my sister there rightly said that this budget should have been budget of the common man. It should have been if the common man meant anything. Because the common man should have been the bane. But today, that common man, those people are there not because the common man voted them.
You can't prove that. In many cases, people voted these people into power.
You see, the way things are going in the country is the type that let this government, whether it favors them or not, the issue, one of the things that they should put on the front burner is the issue of electoral reforms. If they put it on the front burner, it will give a lot of signals for people out there to come to invest in this climb.
Honorable Miko, I want to be able to
the kind of
that. Hold on a second, sir. He says that the bane of our existence is electoral reform.
Well,
for other people,
yes,
so for some people, they may believe that no, it may not be the reform because these are the same people. What's the difference between people in the APC and people in the PDP and all whatnot? We don't have that party ideology, so to speak. And then the structures that are in place to ensure accountability are the things that do not exist. Some people believe that is what the issue is. And meanwhile, I'll give you the opportunity to respond to what you need to respond to as well.
First of all, I will respond to the issue of the investment of Shell, because I'm from oil producing area.
Yeah.
Shell has been declared persona non grata since 1995 by the Ogoni people. So we welcome the development. Our problem is that they should clean up their mess in the Niger Delta before going.
Before leaving?
Yes, before leaving. Nigerians are better trained. They can do the business which Shell is or was doing in Nigeria. So that takes care of that. We are very happy that they are leaving. Then this area of electoral reform is one of the things which I just said here, that the list of items on the exclusive list is unwieldy. Issues of election should be devolved. In America, for which we copy this in, they don't have a national electoral body. It's devolved to the states. So the states do their thing, And because you have a national electoral body that's being controlled by government at the center, anytime that the president of the leader of the country comes from one section of the country, there are agitation from the other side of the country. So to solve that problem, leave it to the states, like state police. If they want to rig election in their various states, let them rig. By the time, like the local government election, by the time we converge everything together, we see who wins. Because what you are saying with is actually the wishes, what the people wish. You hear of, like you're talking of the traffic. Yes, I'm for it, but they said they buy votes. Who are the ones selling the votes? Are they the people selling the vote? Are they the people buying?
I mean, I wanted to be able to get your thoughts about the impacts that this budget could have on Nigeria people, because, in truth, and you did mention it, which is true, the fact that it is more, 47.9 trillion.
It's inflation
27 over the 27.5 trillion. It doesn't really mean that it might even be less if we check the value.
Yes,
if we check the value as at last year.
You can judge,
so what impact?
You can judge the impact of a policy by the result they produce.
What impact did the 2024 budget have? And what impact do you think this 2025 budget will have, considering our economic situation with these inflation figures that we're looking at?
I have told you that since independence, that Nigeria has never implemented the capital aspect of the budget up to 30-35%, whether military or civilian.
Why?
Well, that is the Nigerian system.
What does that mean? That the Nigerian system is created for the capital expenditures not to work?
Now, was it Abubakar Karimi who said there's a difference between corruption and tradition in some aspects, on some parts of the country?
This is a tradition that the APC is adopting?
No, I'm not saying so. I'm saying that I watched Fauci when he was governor. He said he embarked on stomach infrastructure, in which case, if you bring ideas that will bring pains to the people and gains after, nobody is going to vote for you. I was local government chairman, and when we started having meetings with Shell in 1988, and the programs for which I tabled before them, and the people said, look, they are not for grammar. They want something to eat today. And that is the essence. We have to change the mindset of our people from consumption economy to productive economy. And that comes with pains anywhere. It has happened in all the countries. You look at the corn laws of under the Israeli government in the United Kingdom. It brought pains.
So a lot like the pains that the Nigerians are going through right now.
Yes, that is what we are going through now.
The problem is, how long does the pain last? It's indefinite, isn't it?
I'm a Catholic. I'm a Christian. When Jesus Christ was, if you don't follow the scriptures, they said, Israel, Jerusalem, the promised land, was land of milk and honey. Let me ask you, up to this point, do you have milk and honey flowing in the past 3,000 years in those areas?
So 3,000 years?
Yes, 3,000 years.
No, I'm saying we have to wait 3,000 years?
No, we don't have to wait. At every stage, it has its own relative advantage. APC has added value. It might not be visible now until another government comes in.
But what is value if it is not visible, sir?
Look, most of the human benefits are largely intangible. These are not things you can touch. These are not things you can see. But you feel it over time.
Intangible benefits, Mr. Jineka.
Well, I just summarized it that the doctor has tried his best, but the patient died. That's just the way.
Has the patient died already? Or
the patient died. No, because the most important thing, my brother, there's a whole lot. Just as you said, leadership is all about taking people from point A to point B, where B is better than A. If point B is not better than A, then it's not leadership. The onus of leadership lies with Mr. President, lies in the All Progressive Congress. They have a duty. They have a duty to see that they make their mark at the same of time. What we want is not rhetorics this time. This budget, you said, what Nigerians are expecting a performance-based budget. Performance-based in the sense that this 49 trillion, what does this 49 trillion translate into? What are we expecting from this 39 trillion?
Let me ask you personally, what are you expecting from this 49 trillion? 48 trillion.
48 trillion?
Yes. It's 47.9, so we can nicely round it off to 48.
From the 48 trillion, I'm expecting, you know, let me just talk from, I'm a farmer. I'm expecting that there will be high production in food production. At least we must be food sufficient in such a way that we will be in position and we have potentials to export food to all parts of the globe and be self-sufficient here in food production. And we will have so much developed our agriculture to the point that we can compete with countries like Israel and some other, countries, Thailand and other countries of the world. We have the potential.
Can I ask you what you farm?
I'm basically into crop production. Do you do it
for export or for local consumption?
For local consumption.
Has there been any government support coming to you in that regard?
The farmers there. I have clusters in my farm. We have clusters of farmers that also work, that also work. We're not getting any support.
You see?
And that is why the cost of food production has never and will never. Earlier on, we're reading the indices, is about 39%.
Yes.
There was no...
You said there's been no support. Have you sought any?
Of course, yes.
But it hasn't come?
It hasn't come.
Where's
and may not come.
Where's the farm?
In Abuja or outside of Abuja?
In Abuja.
Okay. So I think that's sorted. Yes, you wanted to quickly say something?
Yes. You see...
With regards to your own expectations?
Well, what I want to say is that... disappointment comes from unbridled expectation, where you have a mindset of what you want to get, talking from the side of the opposition, and you want heavens to come down immediately. It's a gradual process. What I'm saying is that, yes, Nigerians are going through a lot like every other country, but we shouldn't expect the president to bring down the moon immediately. That's never happened.
Isn't that what politicians promise?
Yeah, the politics is about rhetorics.
So when they promise it and we start to ask them
Nigerians will get matured in the rhetorics over time.
Rhetoric is the same thing as lies.
No, it's not lies.
I'm just
giving you hope.
Well, I don't know if Nigerians, because the 2024 budget, coincidentally, was tagged the budget of renewed hope.
Yes.
If you ask Nigerians if they really did feel that their hopes were renewed, I think that the jury will still be out as to, just how renewed. When you look at what inflation figures are currently saying, the fact that, a lot of people's incomes have remained stagnant, and it's just generally very difficult for people to eke out their daily bread. So when you say that, you know, there was a budget of renewed hope, and you say that people need to be, what did you just say, that we should be hopeful? Was that what you said?
I'm saying that, yes, people should be hopeful.
Yes.
But unbridled expectations.
So you're blaming the people now for having expectations
what they expect.
from the government?
Disappointment comes from unbridled expectations.
Yes, are you saying people have unbridled expectations?
I would like to plead with...
It's good to be ambitious.
I would like to plead with him that as he goes back, as they go back to their party and the government, this idea of not having money again, cash again in the banks to buy something that you want. What kind of explanation can anybody, in terms of economics, in terms of monies are in the banks, and you go to banks and you can no longer see money? Nobody.
You're talking about the cash shortage, right?
I don't know whether you can call it cash shortage. It's that there's no cash anymore. I went to one of the village markets, cow markets in Abuja. After all negotiations and all whatnot, we could not transact because none of the cow sellers could accept transfer. Everybody wanted cash, and there's no cash. So you go to market, you go back. So it's as addressing the economy and addressing this budgeting. Please, I don't know.
We hope that the president will address that in his budget tomorrow. But in the meantime, we also know that we're going to be discussing business on Sunrise Daily. But we have to thank you, gentlemen, for coming on Sunrise Daily this beautiful morning. Mr. Jeff Ojinika is the National Chairman, Coalition for Change. You've also heard that he's a farmer there.
I'm a former member of House of Reps.
Yes. Honorable Bernard Miko is an APC chieftain, former member of the House of Representatives as well. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
On Sunrise Daily. The conversation on business and perhaps expectations for budgets will also continue on Business Morning, coming to you on Sunrise Daily. Please stay with us.